Hey gang, welcome to another edition of Doc Schlock by Request, where it's a review of the movie Howling 4, The Original Nightmare. And this one was sent in to us from fellow YouTuber Resident Vania77. Now, for those of you who are not really quite familiar with the Howling series, it pretty much gave up continuity, I think, after part 2. So all it pretty much has in common with the other movies is it involves werewolves. So this time around it involves a woman named Marie who keeps seeing a nun. They get on an elevator together, and next thing you know, the nun is gone. And Marie starts feeling like she's losing her mind. So her and her boyfriend Richard decide to get away from it all. Yeah, you can probably pretty much figure where this one's going. They decide to get away from it all, and they go to a nice little area where, unbeknownst to them, the township and the town citizens are pretty much all werewolves. And Richard and Marie are not being too intimate so very often, so Richard decides to go into town and get himself a little action. Finds out the woman he was getting action with, whose name I forgot right now, turns out she's a werewolf. He gets bitten, later on becomes a werewolf. Another woman comes into the movie who goes by the name of Janice, and Janice is a big fan of Marie because I believe Marie was an author or something like that. And Janice pretty much has all the answers for Marie about why she's hearing a werewolf late at night and everything like that. And she explains to her that the nun she kept seeing was actually a ghost of a nun that was taken out by werewolves some time ago. And apparently the only way to destroy these werewolves is to lure them to the local church, ring the bell, set the place ablaze, and that'll take care of the werewolves once and for all. So, that's the plan. Janice goes to the church, starts ringing the bell, the wolves start going to the church, the place goes up in flames, and no more werewolves. And Marie looks down at Richard, who's pretty much starting to somewhat become back to normal, when all of a sudden, one lone werewolf jumps out of the fire, just like the vision she saw at the beginning of the movie. So, why did this movie suck? It's really one of those kind of franchises that, you know, you could probably like one or two of them, but most of them you're going to hate. And to me, after part 1, the series really went downhill. It's almost like part 2 just was trying to be more like a vampire story instead of a werewolf story. Part 3 was more parody than anything. And this is one where it's almost like bad acting started up, and you're pretty much waiting for the werewolves to happen. And I remember when this movie was on HBO years and years ago, and I believe they tried to put this movie on Thursday nights, and they tried to sort of kind of cover it up as sort of a action film, but every once in a while they would play horror movies. And I watched this movie, and just that ending was so stupid, and it made me just bop my head a couple of times going, can't believe that that's how they really ended the movie. But then again, you know, she saw the vision at the beginning of the movie. And the whole time you're trying to figure out, you know, what is that ghostly nun trying to say, and she can't figure it out. And, you know, it's kind of one of those things, like, if you hear it, or if somebody else says this is what you're supposed to be hearing, you hear it. But then after a while, I was like, werewolves near, werewolves near. And it's like, yeah, you could almost pick that up pretty easily, but then again, it's like you got to play a tape over and over and over again to try to get, you know, it's like, what's the hidden message in there? Yeah, again, this is really where the series really started to kind of take a series downhill slide. The makeup effects are not all that great. And again, just that ending just made me facepalm. I was like, wow, seriously? She saw it in her vision, and And yet, crispy critter werewolves, one of them still leaps out at her. And I don't know, maybe it was me, but she just gave the least convincing scream ever. Maybe. I'm just saying. And if you're wondering, will there be any more Howling movies being reviewed sometime soon? Oh yeah, definitely. A review of Howling 5 will be coming soon. How soon? I don't know, but soon. But there you guys have it, a review of Howling 4, the original Nightmare. One more thing I forgot to mention. Apparently this was supposed to be somewhat of a prequel to the Howling series. Sort of like what Wrong Turn, 4 was supposed to be? But they decided to call it a sequel anyway, and yeah, extremely confusing. Special thanks to fellow YouTuber Resident Vania77 for his request. Hope you guys will go check out his channel and subscribe to him. And hey, if you like my videos, always feel free to subscribe. If you got a horror, sci-fi horror, comedy horror, or fantasy horror movie that was 4 times the boredom, 4 times the non-excitement, 4 times the wishes you hadn't seen it, send it my way and I will get on it ASAP. Thank you guys so very, very much for watching. And until next time, as always, stay strong and rock on.